place it in the chat. And I would now like to introduce our lead presenter, Dr. Matthew Irvin. He is a professor of educational psychology and research in the Department of Educational Studies in the College of Education at the University of South Carolina. He's also the director of the Yvonne and Schuler Moore Child Development Center. His research focuses on the academic, social, and behavioral development of adolescents from rural communities.
Thank you. And I'd also like to go ahead and introduce a couple of co-presenters I have today with me. Miss Alyssa Raygoza, she's a doctoral candidate in the program of educational psychology and research here at the University of South Carolina. And her research interests are social emotional learning, mindfulness-based educational interventions, emotion regulation, academic resilience, student voice, motivational experiences of adolescents and young adults. And also presenting with me today is Shea Ferguson. I'm a doctoral student here at University of South Carolina as well, also in our educational psychology and research program in the College of Education. And her research interests include implicit beliefs, motivation, emotions, student well-being, and self-regulation in college students. And Shea, could you back up? I know I skipped ahead, sorry. Yeah, so we briefly wanted to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the All for SC College of Education SEL initiative and what is Harmony, which is what we're presenting on today. There are many several programs and aspects to Harmony, so we'll go over how these some of these are used in schools, and especially a newer sort of addition to their materials, Harmony at Home, and then the Inspire Professional Development Program, and cover a little bit about how that can be used and give you some ideas of how you could register to access these materials through their portals. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions and comments at the end. So again, a little bit about All for SC's initiative. All for SC is a initiative funded by the President's Office here at the University of South Carolina in its third year here. And there's several sort of initiatives within it really to provide assistance to communities throughout our region and state. From the university, our expertise, our support, helping them develop sort of programs, innovations that may be most useful in their particular type of community and school context. So within the All for SC initiative, we focused on SEL, in part through a partnership with Harmony at National University. And really early on, we were focused on developing sort of cross-sector social emotional learning approaches or a model, working with folks both in and out of school, trying to really be on the same page, understand some of the same concepts, use some of the same language, so that kids are getting SEL support both in school and after school and out of school programs. And this was kind of part of our broader whole child education strategy that you might have heard about, that's really taking hold in some states, and some interest in that here in South Carolina now as well. We're really trying to implement broad evidence-based strategies that can support all kids all across our state, as well as teachers, their families, and the communities. A lot of the work we're doing and that Harmony draws on and sort of Harmony and Inspire and its approach is the CASTLE framework for social emotional development. And as many of you probably know, there's kind of 5 core competencies or areas within this model. The first of which is self-awareness, which really refers to one's ability to kind of understand their emotions, their thoughts, values, how they may influence their behavior and others' behaviors, such as your sort of personal, cultural, linguistic assets, being aware of your own emotions, how those may link to your thoughts and feelings and values, examining prejudices and biases, having a growth mindset, and a sense of self-efficacy are some of the key sort of indicators of self-awareness. Another core competency in this model is self-management, which is our ability to sort of manage our emotions or ourself, as well as our thoughts and behaviors, and how to effectively manage and handle those in different situations to sort of reach goals, feel success, achieve the aspirations that one may have. So broadly, managing again emotions, really dealing with stress, having stress management strategies are part of this, having self-discipline and self-motivation as well, being able to sort of set goals to pursue, using skills, organizational planning, other skills to sort of reach those goals, and having courage to sort of pursue them, achieve them, take initiative towards doing the things you need to. And having a sense or demonstrating agency, taking an active role, again, initiative, and trying to achieve those. One of the other key sort of competencies in this model is responsible decision-making, which includes our ability to sort of make caring and constructive choices about your own behavior and in social interactions and across diverse settings, okay, not just in school, but out of school, with friends, with adults, with teachers, and so forth. It really also includes reflecting on one's own role and how you are a part of and can promote your sort of well-being, your family's well-being, even your community's well-being, and really thinking about the impacts of your behavior on some of those. Really thinking about one's consequences, evaluating those or particular courses of action, what might be the consequences, and trying to seek out and identify solutions to problems, both personal and social. And really kind of taking a reasoned approach to taking in that information, thinking about those things and making decisions. Now, there's also the competency around relationship skills, and I think this is one of which Harmony and the related sort of materials address a lot. And relationship skills in the CASEL framework are the abilities to establish and maintain healthy, supportive relationships, navigate settings with diverse individuals and groups. So to do that, that includes things like being able to communicate effectively, develop good relationships, be culturally competent in interacting with others from different backgrounds, being able to work in teams and solve problems collaboratively in a positive way as well. And also even resisting negative social pressure, the many negative influences that kids are unfortunately receiving nowadays. Being able to show leadership, offer support and help, being empathetic, supportive, sympathetic, and then standing up even for others when it's necessary, such as they're being bullied. And then the final competency in this model is social awareness, which refers to the abilities to understand the perspectives of and empathize with others, including those from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and contexts. So really being aware of others' experiences, to the best that we can, taking their perspective, their experiences into account, recognizing strengths in others, being empathetic again, compassionate, concerning, showing concern for them, being grateful, expressing gratitude for others, for their strengths, and understanding diverse social norms and how those may vary across settings and different situations, and what are the different demands and opportunities in those situations, and understanding the influences of organizations and systems on behavior. How is it that, being in a school context, after school context, so forth may influence, team context, sport context may influence what are those some of the expectations and how we should act and interact with others. All right, so that gives you a little overview of the CASEL framework, and I think now we'll move on to talking about some of the specifics around Harmony. I believe Alyssa is going to do that.
So good morning, everyone. I wanted to briefly touch on what is Harmony SEL. Harmony is, I'm sorry, y'all. I have a little one, so that is under the weather. So I'm going to pass it off to Shea real quick. I apologize.
No worries, Alyssa. Okay, so what is Harmony SEL? The Harmony program is comprised of two different components. The first one is going to be the everyday practices or strategies. And the second one is a curriculum to support the direct instruction of SEL skills. So students will learn and practice SEL competencies in whole or small group lessons, different games and activities, and then they will further apply those skills in the meetup and buddy up everyday practices. Each part of the program is supported by the materials, such as different daily practices. Teachers can use quick connection cards to do this. And then for lessons, activities, and games, you can access different resources through the online learning portal. And these pieces of the program contribute to the designation as a CASEL Select program, and they provide that direct instructional support for teaching SEL competencies, such as what Dr. Irvin was just talking about. So you can see here, this is a quick snapshot from the website, but Harmony is no cost, so 100% free, which is great for schools and families. They have over 11.5 million students using it across all 50 states and in 20 different countries. There are 45,000 school districts utilizing this, and then they have seen a 13% increase in academic improvement through using these SEL interventions. So what does the research say? Research supports the role of social emotional learning in a student's college and career readiness. A small investment of time in this area now can have a meaningful effect on a student's future. SEL competency correlates to a student's likelihood of completing college as a young person, and it makes him or her more desirable in the workplace, and it has also been linked to significant gain in academic grades and test scores. So how are these programs used in schools? Meetup is a forum where students gather to establish and monitor expectations for how to treat one another, share their experiences, solve problems, and build a community. Buddy Up, on the other hand, is a peer buddy system that intentionally creates opportunities for students to get to know one another, form different connections, collaborate, and learn together. Harmony goals created by the class are similar to group agreements, expectations, or a class pledge. The goals reflect how everyone wants to interact and be treated by one another. Establishing these different goals during your first meetup, as you will be referring to them daily, is important. These goals will guide the class each moment of the day, whether it's during the meetup, buddy up, or any other time, such as lesson time. Harmony at home. So throughout the Harmony portal, which we will show you towards the end, you'll be able to access these different resources. We have the home letters, everyday practices, and lessons and activities at home. For the home letters, these are letters that are provided that can be sent out in both English and Spanish for each grade level. Teachers are able to send them home to the children's family to further strengthen the connections between home and school. Each letter covers the specific SEL unit's concepts and examples for home activities that can be reinforced in the home setting. Making this important because what you're doing in school can also be done at home, trying to strengthen that connection between that SEL competency. So for our everyday practices, you will see that we have the empathy and critical thinking, and this is going to be based on themes that will be most relevant to your current needs. Different suggestions and instructions for adapting these lessons for your family are included, and detailed examples are provided on the portal. And the great thing is they are print friendly. Some people like to use them online, other people like to use them through printing them out. And you can see here that it has creative suggestions for using the Meetup, Buddy Up, or Harmony goals in the home environment, again, further strengthening that connection. And the different at-home lessons and activities are going to give you concrete examples for how families can continue to build the child's SEL skills inside the home. At-home activities based on each of the 5 curriculum units introduced in the classroom. And then also related Inspire PD modules to support adults in facilitating those chosen units. So what is Inspire SEL? We've talked about Harmony, and Harmony is more for that in classroom or using it at home for the students. But Inspire SEL celebrates and develops inspirational educators through free on-demand courses and resources designed to support SEL and inspirational instruction in the pre-K to 12 classroom and at our different partner universities, such as the University of South Carolina. Inspire represents a bold step forward in the current educational environment based on the premise that academic achievement is often linked to the integration of SEL and effective teaching practices. Inspire enables educators to create safe and inspired learning environments where all students thrive. Inspire is being expanded nationally to help prepare and retain teacher leaders with the most current, relevant approaches to support inspiring teaching. So when we look at inspirational teaching, we look for a range of different competencies that impact both the teacher and ultimately the students. For example, we know that if a teacher reflects on his or her teaching practice on student engagement, students have a more engaging learning environment. We know that if teachers know how to build student confidence, students are more likely to work hard and persevere. If teachers are able to create inclusive and respectful learning environments, student experiences can then be healthier and more productive. So through our two inspirational pathways of building teaching practices and developing SEL capacity, we're providing that professional development for teachers to build these different competencies. Or for families at home, they can also take these different modules to learn about these different competencies as well. And you'll see here, the building teaching practices is going to focus more on the physical environment of your classroom, the backwards planning and the annotation. So this might be more related to in the classroom, but as a parent, if you'd like to know what's going on, you can also look at these modules. Whereas the developing SEL capacity is going to look more at building relationships with students and or at home, linking identity and achievement through cultural competence, which is a great importance we have in our schools right now, and then teaching students empathy, which is what we talked about a little bit in that Castle framework. So Inspire for Teachers, right here, you're going to see a snapshot known as the CARE model. Inspire can be used by individual teachers for whom modules are assigned, or they can be self-selected, like I mentioned. Different coaching guides are going to be available for each module to support the use of small group teachers, different professional learning communities, or other groups to explore and work together collaboratively. And then you'll also notice we have the university education. Some administrators or professors use the modules as a whole group assignment integrated within their courses. I teach a pre-service course at the University of South Carolina, and I integrate some of these modules in the course to try and get the students that experience ahead of time before they get in the classroom, so that we can build those competencies earlier. Here are some examples of Inspire modules that range between about 30 and 60 minutes. They are self-paced and they give users the ability to dive deeper in teaching practices and the different content with interactive lesson structures. So as you can see here, this is a brief look at the family focus unit that really allows any user to learn more about various strategies to strengthen family engagement. So we have our unit focus at the top, which is going to be family focus. Then it's family engagement. So this will give you some strategies for building and maintaining positive relationships with families. And then we have our different modules. So a few of the examples here that you could take or different families can take are how to address barriers to parent involvement. This is overcoming different bias, communicate effectively, and making them feel valued and welcome. This is going to be strategies for communicating with parents. Again, this is more helpful for maybe a teacher who needs to learn how to do that communication, but discovering some helpful do's and don'ts for effective parent-teacher communication in all different types of conversations. So maybe even just in a conversation where you're talking about the positives or maybe the negatives. So that way we can address both difficult and non-difficult conversations. And then the importance of working with parents. We can review the research-based benefits here of parental involvement and explore the different ways that parents can be involved in their children's education. The best part is that Harmony and Inspire both host relevant webinars each month free to each user. So if you create an account, you can go in here and you can see the different webinars that are going to be offered. If you're interested in learning more about how to integrate it, you can simply sign up and then you'll get a link to join. SEL Common Language is an important piece when you're talking about the different competencies. You will discover that while each feature has, each grade has a little bit of a different band to it, each lesson is going to include goals and objectives, research and relevance, different stories, and that's in our PK to 2nd grade, some activities and games, that'll be 3rd grade to 6th grade, our homeschool connections, and the required worksheets and game supports. The homeschool connections in pre-K to 2nd grade are short blurbs that can be included on your webpage, homework contract. In upper grades, letters can be printed and sent home with students, like we talked about earlier, and those are going to be offered in both English and Spanish. What's also important is consistent language throughout your school district. So if you are in 1st grade and you hear about SEL or you hear about empathy in one way, and then you get to 6th grade and or even 2nd grade and you hear about it in a different way, you may not make those connections. So what's great about Harmony is that, and Inspire, is you're going to have that same language be consistent throughout the entire time that they are at this school. So it's going to support student learning and development and take away that challenge of having to then understand what different skills people are talking about. If we're all talking about them the same way, students can easily grow and learn. And they can build on what they have learned and carry that into the next grade, helping the other teachers as well. So you are interested in creating a profile. To register and create that free profile for either Harmony or Inspire, you will go to mylearningportal.org. From there, you will see an option that says register now for free. If you select that, it's going to take you to a page that has you create a free profile. It'll ask you to enter in some demographic information and then your account will be created and you can sign in anytime and choose a program. So when you go to sign in anytime, you'll type in your username, password, select sign in, and then you'll choose between Harmony or Inspire. And it will take you to the different portals, which we can see here. So when you log in, you'll see up here, we're in the Inspire portal, but we have our dashboard. In the dashboard, you have your building teaching practices pathway, and you also have your developing SEL capacity pathway. You can access the different units here, or you can simply search for a module. So if you already knew the module you wanted, you can register right here. We also have some featured modules off to our right, which is going to have options to go directly here. There's different implementation resources. So if maybe you're trying to implement this for a large group or a small group, like we discussed already, you can see here the different overviews that would be necessary for you to review. And then lastly, you can see here, again, our trainings and webinars that would be offered. And there are a bunch of different resources under reports, community, etc. So there's a lot of information here for you to use. And again, it is free to register. So that is all we have for you as of right now. So we're going to open it up now for any questions.
I have a question. This is Lorelei, the moderator. So if a school is not using Harmony SEL curriculum, a parent may still have access to those at-home practices, everyday practices, or primarily is their best, if their school isn't using it, the best avenue is to go in through Inspire modules.
I can jump in on that, and then Dr. Irvin, if you want to add anything after. Since the account is free for everyone to create, yes, they could use it at home if they would like to. They have access to all of those resources. But like you mentioned, maybe if their school district isn't using it, maybe first going through the school district to see what they're doing to kind of not create that confusion. But the resources are available to everyone to access. You just have to have that link that I showed earlier to create your profile. But parents at home can create that, go in, they can learn more about SEL if they want. The only caution I would put out there, and maybe Dr. Irvin can add, is if your school's doing something different, trying to align that might be important.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. It's, definitely in terms of working with some schools, that's what we found, when they're using other curricula and stuff, sometimes it's hard to align and, make sure all are sort of on the same page. We worked on aligning with some particular curricula, and it's possible, but I think it adds a little complexity for folks. So, but yeah, if a school isn't using a program that involves the parents, right, and the parents want to, I definitely think they could access this material, and it's very accessible, understandable, I think pretty user-friendly material that they could access on their own and get some new knowledge and skills.
Is there a limit as to how long these this will be available for no cost?
So not to my knowledge. Meeting and talking with Harmony, it's been around for quite a while. They have a very, very large endowment that supports this. So unless something, radically is changing to their philanthropic model, I think the intent is for it to remain free. They literally, when I talk to them, they just want to provide access to SEL resources, right? And make sure that we are addressing and supporting kids' SEL and social emotional development.
Thank you.
And I think that what I want to ask, I just want to clarify, but what I'm hearing, it seems like it would be okay. If my school district is not using this program, but I choose to use it in my capacity, I am free to share some of the information with my families.
Yes,
correct?
100%. If you want to integrate it into your classroom, the resources are all there for you, and you want to send things home to parents, totally up to you. What's nice about this is it really does, it's set up really nicely that anyone can sort of jump in. You can use little pieces of it if you like the meetup buddy up and you want to just use that. Or we've done some of the Harmony lessons with creating different newsletters, and there's one for like conflict resolution. If you just want to use that, it'll give you all the resources you need, bring that into the classroom. Maybe you want to send something home, you can do that. So you don't have to use like the entire curriculum. You can pick and choose. It's completely up to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's wonderful. I really appreciate the opportunity to have these resources.
Yeah, it's really nice to offer these resources to the school districts, teachers, and families.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll add, Lisa, sometimes you get in there seems like a lot, but I know there's some materials that really outline everything that's in there. Some sort of matrices, aligning the different modules and the content. So you can really zero in on what might be best for your situation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I will add to that too. They have been revising the platform. I think we're on the second rounds of revision since we've been sort of partnering with them for 2 or so years now. And they've really made a push in the past year to have it more seamless, clear implications and guidance for classroom and home practice, making it really useful, applicable. So they've been really revising that. And then I understand they're actually getting ready to launch another update to the website and materials anytime soon. So continuing to improve.
I agree, Janice. I just saw your chat. I'm a family liaison, and that's what I thought, that it just different pieces of it would be great resources for us to share with our families, and to help them understand maybe some things that they may not have had an opportunity to learn about yet, and new teachers. I was thinking about sharing with new teachers.
And I don't know if we use Harmony or Inspire in the school or not, but I'm willing to plunge out because it does. It seems like it's an excellent resource.
Matt, do you guys have some ideas about if your school or district is not using it? What's the best way to maybe reach out and let them know about this opportunity?
Yeah,
I
good.
know. Excuse me, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, good question. You can honestly reach out to us or contact them directly. They have some folks. There's a particular guy, John Coven. I can put his email. He's the sort of regional contact, and they could even do training for you to certify you, your school, a team, on this, so that you have access to the portal. And we went through the training. It's pretty straightforward. But that would be the best. I'll look up John's email and drop it in the chat here in a minute.
I know these days we're kind of in a different place in the world with vetting vendors. Can you give us a little bit of the history of how this was chosen as the curriculum of choice here?
Sure. Sorry there. I just put John's email in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in part, because it is a CASEL Select program, it is free. So, we knew it would be able to be used, and they have explicitly, geared it towards, having this sort of understandable common language that I and Shea both mentioned. So kind of for our purposes, that was one of the things we were trying to do, sort of from this whole child education perspective, really making sure kids had, supports both in and out of school in the community. So it just seemed like a natural fit for that, for our purposes. Of course, we started it right as COVID hit, right? So a lot of the after school programs and that intent didn't materialize as well for us. Many programs obviously shut down for a year or more. Somebody, I think Lisa, you mentioned your early service teachers. We kind of started pivoting last year and really integrating this into pre-service education courses. So aligning a lot of this, and several of our service courses that teach, 6 to 8 sections every semester of pre-service educators are using these modules, integrating 3-4 of them into the class. So, that's one approach a lot of folks, I know across the country, we met with some other universities using this as well, are doing, to really kind of infuse it almost like multicultural education, right, throughout pre-service education. And likewise, I've, would like to see it in early educator sort of mentoring support, that first 2 to 3 years, right? Dealing with behaviors, social emotional developments, one of the biggest things I know early teachers, find challenging.
I agree. And to piggyback off what you were saying about when you started the program, I think right now, after what families have been through and our students, becoming a new teacher and having this knowledge is so important.
I agree. And like I mentioned, I'm teaching one of our pre-service courses, and the students in my class are seniors. they're going to be graduating and going into the classroom soon. And we talk about some of these things, and they're very unclear of how to handle a lot of the behavioral issues they're seeing in their classrooms. They're in their internship right now, so they go in twice a week, and we'll talk about some of the things. And after I started working with Alpha SC and Dr. Irvin and Alyssa, we started implementing it into the pre-service courses. So my students complete about 2 modules a month. And I teach classroom assessment. So there's actually modules aligned to making sure your assessment is valid, not biased, and all these different components. So it actually takes what I teach in the classroom, and then they do about a 30-minute module and they get a certification. And I tell them to save these certifications when you're applying for jobs. It's going to be great to be able to show that you have these different competencies. So I think what's great about the pre-service is it does help them as well. And we've gotten really great feedback from the instructors and different students about how this is helping them understand not only the content in our courses, but how to then go out in the real world and actually apply these things. So we have found really great success so far with the pre-service teachers.
Shea, is the certification available through Harmony or through University of South Carolina?
So the certification is going to be through Harmony Inspire. You would get it through the Inspire end because it's professional development. And each module that you complete, you have to complete an assessment afterwards to verify your understanding. Once you receive 100 on the assessment, you can take it many times, as many as you need, hopefully not that many. You will get a certification that you can download directly from Inspire.
I will add too, thinking about the pandemic, they did add some stuff, around supporting kids and virtual online settings as well. So, if you still work with kids in any of the online setting situations, there's some materials in there for that too. And then, yeah, I know I was on a call the other day with a teacher from North Carolina, one of the top performing schools, and saying about how SEL is just so important, how some of their kids that are just now this year returning to face-to-face school for the first time since the start of the pandemic. And, they're seeing, as many of you I'm sure know, lots of SEL issues, 2 to 3 years sort of behind where they would have been, both, academically, unfortunately, but and they said even more so SEL. And this particular school had lots of resources, multiple counselors, actually SEL specialists, and saying it's still not enough. So these sort of resources that can, hopefully support families can help start closing some of those gaps.
I have a question. Am I to understand that getting the certifications is also free for those of us interested in doing that?
Yes, and Dr. Irvin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure it's so much a certification as, if you go through an entire course and at the end you get a certification, but you do get a certificate that shows what you've completed and what skills you have learned surrounding SEL.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
And I apologize to ask another question, but I appreciate your patience. But I noticed I went ahead and pulled up the website just to make sure I wasn't going to have a problem finding it. And it says primary program of interest. So it's asking us to choose Harmony SEL or Inspire Teaching and Learning. And then there's 2 others. So will we have to make a separate profile so that we can explore both?
No, you just have to select one. I think they are more trying to collect data on, what one you're more interested in using, whether you plan to use Harmony, Inspire. We hope that everyone kind of uses both because they work in tandem together, but
that's what I want to do. And I'm like, no, I don't want to have to choose. I want to do both.
Once you create the account, and you go back, you won't log into them at the same time. So you'll either log into the Harmony dashboard or the Inspire dashboard, but you always have access to both, regardless of what you put there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Shay, I think we're bouncing, right, using a little bit of each and things, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Correct. Yep.
What do you think, Laura Lee?
Sorry.
Give folks a few more minutes or?
Yeah, please, let's give it about 1 more minute, but of course, if you have a question in the chat or you want to unmute, please go ahead. And if we don't hear from anyone, we'll go ahead and close it out.
I
Thank
do
you,
have a
everyone.
question.
Oh,
I do have a
okay, great,
question.
Candace.
If you could put that contact information in the chat, please, maybe so we can copy and paste it. And also, and I came in a little late, but am I to understand that for the trainings where we can get the certificate, that can also be done through the Learning Portal website, the Harmony and the Inspire or whatnot?
Yes, everything can be done right through the portal. Once you go into the portal, you'll see it has the module. It'll have each different piece of the module for Inspire. If you complete each piece, then at the end, it'll say, take the assessment. If you take the assessment, you get 100. It'll then give you a certificate that you can download. And again, all that is free. All that is completely done through the portal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I can type in the contact information.
While Shay's wrapping that up or typing in our contact info there, there has been discussion about possibly integrating this into micro credentials. I know you're familiar with those, have, I think, developed some yourself, Laura Lee. So if, you want to keep an eye out for that, this might get integrated where you can get possibly a micro credential from the University of South Carolina here. But I would recommend you check those out.
News. Thanks for sharing all this information. It's very helpful. I love the way it's focusing on the family school connection as well.
And I know there's already several micro credentials in that here at the university around SEL more broadly as well. So you can check those out. I'll put a link to those. Carolina Cred, they call it here in the chat.
Okay, I think that we're probably done, and thank you for sharing all the information, your contact information, and the link for the micro credentials. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And if you have more questions, just please reach out to Shea, Alyssa, or Matt.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.